Why is Wichita called these six things? So Wichita has a few different names, and it's really interesting to break it down. And it's funny how much we're very prideful in those names. Given this is our flag, to give you an idea, so it actually has a whole nother video that you'll check out on my YouTube channel about the Wichita flag and history, culture, what it's like here beyond just the houses and that kind of thing. But before we get into all that, please like, comment, subscribe, share. It really helps the channel grow everything from a small local business, local agent standpoint, and helps out the little guy to help a lot of people relocate to the area. That's kind of our bread and butter main niche that we love helping people do, is to relocate to the area from other cities and get to know what Wichita's like, and kind of our hidden little secret of the pocket of the world in the country. So there's six things that Wichita is going to go by, and I'm going to screen share to kind of help give you some visuals and understanding where this comes from. But the first one that we go by, and you'll hear people call Wichita, is the ICT. And the ICT has to do with our airport's designation. It's the abbreviation for Wichita. And that's kind of how we commonly call it. You know, the Dwight D. Eisenhower International Airport. It's a pretty good sized airport. You can get to a lot of places from here. And there's a good amount of people who love to live here but travel elsewhere and come back. It's kind of why we call it a boomerang city. For both the people that travel and come back, or like the younger generations who've lived here their whole life and then want to move away, have a family and kids, and then they move back. You know, there's a boomerang city, pretty common for that on everything. So it's a very family-oriented city, but you can travel, you can get out because it's pretty centrally located in the middle of the U.S. We do have a decent amount of direct flights to major destinations, but some of your smaller destinations, you might have to get a, you know, what do you call that? Fly to like Denver or Atlanta or somewhere like that before your other destination of everything, since we're not a major hub on everything. But ICT is where the designation comes from to call Wichita that, because it's our airport code on everything. The next one we have is the 316. So 316 is our area code for phones. And that's just the Wichita, Kansas area. No, it's not just the city of Wichita, it's some of the surrounding areas too. But basically, if you have a 316 area code, you can reasonably assume people are from the Wichita area. Most time people say I'm from Wichita just because that's easier to understand and recognize, even though you might be from Goddard, Maize, Andover, Valley Center, Park City, Derby, any of these other surrounding cities or towns. They're pretty good size, but nobody knows where they're at. And quite honestly, not a lot of people know where Wichita's at on everything. But 620 is the surrounding area of Kansas around Wichita, and then 785 is a north part of Kansas, you know, kind of around the Salina, Manhattan, Hayes, Topeka, Lawrence area. There's a bunch of the cities up there. But Wichita is known as the 316 because of the area code, known as the ICT. We like to have these cool little nicknames and abbreviations to try to spunk up our city and be proud about it and that kind of thing, kind of tell people where you're from, what's going on. So there's two of them so far. The third one, we're known as the air capital of the world. And this came about actually all the way from 1928, when we had a ton of production lines here rolling out 120 airplanes each week. At that time, 1 out of every 4 U.S. built airplanes came from Wichita. It was pretty substantial, pretty amazing. And we still have a good amount of aerospace manufacturing that drives our economy here, between Spirit Aerosystems and Cessna, Beechcraft, Learjet, all these different major aviation companies and their subsidiaries that come from that. So that's one of our main economic drivers here, is airplane manufacturing, essentially. We also have Cargill, which does a lot of agricultural work, Coke, which does a lot of industries with a bunch of different companies like Georgia Pacific and other industrial places. We have a lot of healthcare. So we have a pretty broad and diverse type of industries and economic sector here, which is in a lot of ways what leads to Wichita's stability. And we have one of the biggest populations of city and metro sizes in the whole Kansas area. So it's kind of like you got the big old city of Kansas, and there's not a lot of other bigger major cities in Kansas. It's pretty flat territory geography wise. You know, we got a lot of flying that goes on around here, both from the planes we produce, but also people like to fly around here just being in that industry. And we don't have a lot of major geography, lakes, rivers, ponds, trails, hiking, things like that. So we got to have something to do for fun. So we typically work, drink, and travel a lot and a lot of other things, but I'm not going to say those. But that's why we're the air capital of the world, and gets you to know Wichita a little bit and what it's like. There's also the fourth nickname is Doodah. This one is actually a diner here too. Doodah Diner is the name of it. And its nickname came from the Wichitans' laid back attitudes. Um, Not really sure who came up with it or when it got started. Supposedly a KPI radio DJ coined the term years ago. But what it kind of has to do with is kind of that like lackadaisical, whimsical attitude of people that's kind of like dilly-dally, lollygagging around. And you will definitely see that in the drivers. And you'll definitely see that in just our culture. Our lifestyle around here is very laid back. We have a ton of time on our hands. We're in no rush to get anywhere or do anything, which can be cool and peaceful around like holidays or get-togethers, or if you just need time and space to think and breathe. We have that around Wichita, but the flip side of that is you might be a little bored. It might be not fast-paced, and on a business standpoint, you typically don't get as much done because people just are kind of slower moving around here. In some ways that's good, in some ways that's bad. But that's where that doodah name and nickname and attitude of the culture comes around from here. So gives you an idea of what Wichita's like from that nickname on everything. The fifth one I'm going to go over is Cowtown. Why is Wichita have a nickname of Cowtown? And a lot of that comes from how many cattle drivers were driving their cattle, up from Texas and Oklahoma through Kansas, like up to Nebraska and some of the more northern states. And Wichita was a common destination, resting spot, things like that. And there's a good amount of cowboys that came through here and cattle drivers and things like that. And it kind of got known for that Western type of a feel and history from being a popular destination to stop at along the way while cowboys and cattle drivers were herding all their cattle north on everything. So that's where the term Cowtown comes from. We do still have a old West town that we use as an exhibit called Cowtown. It has a lot of the old buildings, blacksmiths, and kind of just how things were back then, and kind of a lot of cool history to walk through and kind of explore and relive what it'd be like to live in the old Wild West in Wichita, Kansas, and what that was like at the time. So that's where Cowtown comes from. So a few different things you can explain and talk about Wichita and what it's like in its history. And the last one, Wichita. Where the heck does the word Wichita come from? And the name Wichita, and it comes from the Wichita Indians, which were an Indian tribe, and it means either scattered lodges or painted faces. There's also a meaning of Wichita too, it's a Choctaw word, and it means big arbor or big platform, referring to the grass arbors the Wichita built on everything. So that gives you an idea of where our Wichita name came from. And like I was mentioning with the flag, this little white symbol here in the middle of the blue circle is a Wichita symbol that represents happiness, peace, and contentment, which a good amount of people around here are happy and peaceful and content because we have a lot of the right values in place that keep us that way. We don't get too lost in the fast-paced nature of the world and keeping up with the Joneses and all those kind of things. We're pretty down-to-earth, salt of the earth type of people. And that's what is reflected in all these nicknames and the city. And there's kind of a interesting dynamic going on right now where you have people that are from here and been here from a long time are kind of trying to keep it a small town feel, that laid back doodah whimsical attitude. But then you have the nicknames of like the ICT and the 316 and things like that, and the civic pride movement of like the flag and everything goes with it, is there's people that are wanting to see it evolve into a big city, a bigger metro type of a situation. So you kind of have those two competing dynamics going on in Wichita, along with all of these nicknames that come with it. So that's kind of cool to learn about the culture, understand Wichita a little bit more. Appreciate watching as always. Check out some of the other videos on Wichita. If you want to talk about relocating to Wichita, what it's like to live here, buy a house here, work here, all those things, check out some other videos. Then also I'm here and available to get phone calls, sign up on my website, check things out, and whichever option you'd like to go through from there, I'm happy to be a resource for you, and I appreciate you watching as always. We'll talk to you soon. See ya.